Good morning, welcome back. Got the board. Dwight, still waiting on parts, which should be in today, this afternoon, maybe? Might get to start putting that back together. Jade, I'm not worried about. Bobcat. Let's go work on the Bobcat. So I used that yesterday over at my sister's place, working on tearing down their barn. Even though it says right there that it's leaking again. Well, it's leaking big time now. I think I counted 5 leaks. So let's go over and check it out. Got my drill, my 13 millimeter, my 10 millimeter. Yeah, I know exactly what sizes because I've taken it apart so many times. This thing drives me crazy. Let's go over and see if we can get this thing to stop leaking. Well, maybe, I guess today I'd be happy if I found out where it was leaking from. That would be a good day. I'm out here with it and I count no less than 5 places that it's leaking from. The first 2 are easy. I tagged a tree with this, and ever since it's been dripping. I don't know if it's dripping out of this one and this one. That'd be a heck of a coincidence. Maybe it's just dripping out of this one, getting down on that one and making it drip. But I'd say that's my biggest leak. And then my next leak is right here, coming out of this hose. So all of this is for an attachment that I don't have for this machine. I've thought about getting a couple things for it. Hasn't happened yet. I don't see it in my future, so I'm thinking about just capping, like this one's capped. Cap those, pull these hoses off, and then if I ever get an attachment, then I'll have to worry about it then. But that stops the leaking there and prevents future leaks and everything. The next leak is coming from the track motor down here. It's all wet underneath here, so that's not good. I hope it's not the motor. I hope it's another hose, but I'm gonna have to find out. And then I still have that leak from one of the hoses inside the machine somewhere, but it's back in the back end. I can't tell which one it is. I'm at the point where I think I'm gonna take all of the hoses out and just label them and inspect each one, and if it hasn't been replaced by me, just replace it, because I'm tired of every time I take this out for something, it leaks from a new place. The hoses are just so old, so I think it's time. So I ordered an assortment pack of zip ties, different colors, so I can label each one and where they go, and I think I'm going to tear that apart in the near future. But for today, I can work on this motor, and I'll take the old hose from here down to the shop and say I don't need a new hose. What I need is a cap that can thread into both sides just to cap those off. But then again, if the cap is crazy expensive, then I might as well just replace the hose, because honestly it's the fittings that are more expensive than the hoses. Then I'd still have to deal with those. I don't. Jury's still out on those, but let's tear that motor apart, see what's going on. The motor leak is a new one. Hadn't done that before. So I'm hoping the motor itself is okay and doesn't need a rebuild. It's just my hose. Like I have 2 hoses that are still original. I thought I'd replace them all. I'm at that stage of life where I'm not going to risk it. I'm just going to pull both of these hoses out and replace them both. Because if one is good right now, it's going to go bad in the near future, and I'm tired of dealing with it. So looks like I'm going to pull both of them. Hopefully it's just not the motor, but the lines look awfully wet. The motor is dry on top, it's wet in the bottom. So, pretty confident. It's got those Kevlar deals on them, so I can't see exactly where it's leaking. Those just make a mess. Oh yeah, but it's leaking. There's a drip way up here, so it'll be leaking up in that channel. Well, while I wait on my decision to be made, I'm at least going to start with a little bit of that, and a little bit of that, and a little bit of this. because I've had to take these off before, and they do not like to come off. Now, I don't know what I'm going to do about this thing. Maybe I'll wait until I get my zip ties and just tear it apart. But I'm not going to take it apart while it's on my trailer, because then I won't be able to use my trailer. Seemed like really poor planning on my part. I was even prepared. I wore my crappiest shirt and everything. I was going to work on that, but the mail just came, so I think the parts I need for Dwight are here. I was right. Should have a new set of valves in here. Oh, and free oil filter to get. Free shipping. Sometimes you gotta play the game. Okay, good news. That's just the oil filter, not my valves. Dang it. I don't need the oil filter today. What I need are my valves. I just checked shipping. It says they're still coming today, but I find that highly unlikely if the mail has already been here. Oh, there's a chipmunk. He's after it. That dog, he loves chasing those chipmunks. I don't know what he'd do if he actually caught one, but he loves to chase them. We are back. The mail just came in, got some new valves, and I got a fresh sparkling ice. Last time we took the head all apart, pulled the valves out, found that we had some pitting and everything, so we're going to put some new ones in there and get this thing back to going and running. Hopefully today, barring any distractions. Now I noticed this and never found it before. This is still mud. Let me get the light on. That's still mud in my intake because the valves were closed. I never pulled the valves. Really should have pulled those when I had it apart doing the rebuild. But yeah, there's still some dried up mud, so we're gonna get that all cleaned out and everything before we start trying to lap these valves in there. I ended up taking the throttle body off the intake. These bolts, I just can't get those off, but it doesn't really matter. Look at that, it's spotless. It was pretty messy before, but she's clean now. Clean this out, spotless going in there. And let me put this somewhere. Careful. And we're nice and clean coming up the intake. So we should be good. There's a couple of pits where I think it just had water on it too much, but everything else came off. So we are nice and clean coming in. Throttle body's good and clean. I'm gonna re-bolt that back on there. There was just 4 10mm bolts holding that on. That came right off. They're pretty tight though. Got good grooves on all these. Looking real nice, dead center, so everything lined up real good. And it's nice and clean on all those. They look good, so now it's time to put them back in. I'm gonna put the valve in. Oh, no, I almost forgot. New seals, gotta put the stem seals in the bottom first. So we'll get all 4 of these stem seals in, then slide the valve through with a spring. Gotta compress them and put the little keepers in the end. Oof. Those keepers, they're so tiny. It's such a pain. But we'll get it. We'll send the new seal down through. Like so, no problem there. We've got the spring, which shouldn't make a difference, but I did mark mine. Send that down in like so. And then we'll get the spring compressed. And then we got the 2 locks. This is such a pain. I've repositioned right way up because I just couldn't get them to stay. Now I can kind of reach in and get them close. Hey, we
got one. Whew. Okay. Note to self, right side up. Now I'm going to repeat this procedure on the other 3. Got them all in. By then I was pretty much becoming an expert. And now we're on break. That's why I keep that ice nearby. So that's pretty much done. Next up, we're going to throw a head gasket in the machine over there. And get that put back in. Now, important note, anytime you take the head off, you're supposed to replace the head bolts. I have reused these head bolts before, and I'm going to reuse them again. It's completely up to you, but the manual does say replace the head bolts every time. It's pretty much in any head gasket I've ever done. So do what you will, but I'm going to reuse them. Back over at the engine here, or the machine. I've cleaned that surface real well, and I'm just going to set the chain down inside so we don't catch on anything. We can grab it with a magnet and pull it up, so I'm not worried about tying it off or anything like that. But actually, before I do that, I'm going to pull this back out, hold it by hand, and we're going to turn the engine so that we're at top dead center. We're going to look right in that peak hole looking for the triangle, but it'll be easy to see when the cylinder's up. That's top dead center. That'll just save us a little bit of time later setting the timing. I was able to pull that around with just the chain, and then if you haven't seen this trick, there you go. Here's my phone on video, and we're looking for that little triangle. There it is, you see that? A triangle to line up with that bolt over there. So we're pretty darn close to being top dead center right there. That's how you do that. But obviously you can see the cylinder, or the piston, is sitting all the way up, so we know we're close. So let's throw that head gasket on there and set the cylinder in place, or the head in place. They come with 2 different head gaskets in there, so you got to know which one it is. The instructions will tell you, or you can just look at the old one and see that it's identical, but the ports are in slightly different places depending on which one you got there. So from here on out, it's basic engine assembly, and you've seen me do that in another video. So I'm going to put the link to the video in a corner here in the video description, and we're going to time lapse the rest of it up until we can see if we can get her going. So I'll see you at the end of the time lapse. I got her. She's all put back together. There's no coolant in it, but it's otherwise put back together. Details. I like to prime it a few times since we had the fuel line disconnected. But now it should start. Hey! Woo! All right. I'm gonna get some coolant in there. This engine, my kid ran it out of oil due to the leaky valve stem seal. I hope the bottom end is okay. I don't know, every part of me, you become hyper-tuned to a noise in a machine, and it just, oh man, has it always been that noisy? I don't know. A bottom end might be in the future on that machine, but for today, we're good. We're gonna send it as is. Of course, once I put some coolant in there. Just letting her idle. Get some temperature built into it. Bled the coolant. So far so good. It should be okay. Oh,
Had to hiccup. Should be okay.
You guys see that? Yeah. 169.
Around 178 or so. Typically the coolant lines start to open from the thermostat. We'll see if that all starts happening. Hopefully we're okay.
Still watching.
I saw I hit 176 and then went down to 174. Yeah, and we're getting warm up here. So I know the water pump is circulating. We don't have airlock or anything like that. So eventually it'll get up to 10. I'll watch for that fan to make a cycle. There she is. Once it's done with that, we will be ready to ride it. 198. There's the fan. 199. 201. 199. Alright, so it's cooling back down. We're not done with this engine. It's gonna need more help later, I'm afraid. But we're gonna send it for now. So if you haven't subscribed, be sure to subscribe. Keep up to speed with this engine. If there's something you want to see with it, or one of the other machines, or the Pro XP sitting out here, just drop a comment. I love to hear from you guys. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate every viewer and every subscriber, especially you members. You guys are amazing, and I hope to see you here for another video on 3-Day Weekend.